and good afternoon. Sorry for the slight delay. We've had a bit of a technical issue, as these kind of events usually do. But welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening for our latest Young Scholars seminar. Tonight we have an absolutely fascinating talk on spirituality and mental health, which is a very, very pertinent topic for today. With us we have PhD candidate Merve Çetinkaya, who will be delving into this topic. For those of you who haven't come to Yunus Emre before, we are Turkey's Cultural Diplomacy Institute, and we try to engage with whatever host country we're in. That being said, we have about 64 or so branches across the world, so we are a very connected network. Thank you for coming. We have other events, courses, and workshops you can join us with. And without further ado, let's get going with almost Dr. Çetinkaya.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I wasn't expected that much people showed up. I'm a bit excited, and thank you for your interest. And many thanks, Yunus Emre Institute, for having me today to talk about my work. And if I briefly introduce myself, that I am an interdisciplinary researcher in spirituality and mental health, particularly Sufism, Islamic spirituality, and well-being. My main interests are religion, culture, spirituality, culture, social theories, and mental health and well-being. For practical side, I'm interested in palliative care and qualitative methods. Currently, I'm doing my research in the Division of Psychiatry at UCL. Today, I will present the background of my doctoral research with some findings. First, I will talk about the relationship between spirituality and well-being in contemporary Britain, highlighting some social theories to situate Sufi practices in pluralistic and multicultural societies like Britain. And secondly, I present the understanding of Sufi Islamic spirituality and how it affects individual mental well-being, providing some of the findings from my qualitative study. So if we start with a general information about spirituality in modern societies, since the 19th century, religion has come to be regarded as an individual matters rather than established belief and practice. According to Charles Taylor, secularity arises in the feeling of religious belief and practice in public spaces. Taylor also described this idea deriving on Max Weber understanding, Max Weber explanation on disenchantment, which is a sense of transcendence or the sacred is replaced by secular and scientific explanations. Through this process, people are no longer required to believe in God or attend any religious services. Within this secularization process, while the main position of religion has become lost in relation to its significance for the state and society, it has also changed in personal level. It also changed and shaped in individual level. So although contemporary Sufi, contemporary culture has seen a shift away from religion, modernity has brought a new way of connection, sacred or transcendent themes to society. For example, new religious movements or spiritual movements involving a connection with the transcendence or spiritual have become visible trends in relation to this process. As a result of this concept of spirituality has become more significant, and the definition of spirituality has received much scholarly discussion and also interest in terms of scholarly and also individually. So while some studies have defined the term as an extension of religion, others explain it's a distinct concept from religion. So we will talk about the definition of the main term later in the presentation. But first I would like to explain the modern society aspect on religion and spirituality to just make sense of definition later on spirituality and well-being. The concept of religion and spirituality has been examined in different disciplines, such as anthropology, sociology, cultural studies, and also it starts examining in psychology of religion, first by William James. And he mentioned about individual experience in his books, the variety of varieties of religious experience, which is focused on analyzing religion in non-sociological level, but it's analyzing more individual level. And he argued that he believed that individual religious experience, rather than the perceived of organized religions, he focused on more individual practices. So why I'm highlighted that much individual practices, because my main area of looking for the spiritual and religious practices and how people modified this in their modern understanding of religion, spirituality, or other aspects, because well-being is the way to connect with these two terms, actually, kind of spirituality and religion as well. So secularization brings about the rationalization and privatization of religion. I'm aware I'm explaining many theories, but I will not give that much detail. The thing is, I just trying to explain how much social concept is going on to just one understanding the spiritual and personal practices, which, because we are human beings, we are not only the concept of psychology or like physical, we also have some kind of in-depth like self-sense. So we have to approach some of the concept with interdisciplinary and also have to dive into that much detail. So people actually, if I back my secularization position, people no longer want to belong a particular religion or denomination or community, and prefer instead to search for a sense of inwardness and subjectivity in their belief. So on the other hand, due to the competing religious alternatives and spiritual trends, lots of different kind of spiritual existence start to seen on the scene in modern times, such as New Age or New Religious Movement offer different kind of spirituality. So secularization process leads individual to examine the current understanding of religion, noting it as being inadequate in providing a basis for meaning and reflection of one's personal religious position and religious position and explanation. So in regard to British context, secularization has foreground many theories such as spiritual but not religious. Yet you just come back. So in the British context, you can see there's lots of theory exists in terms of how spirituality or religion understand in the British community. For example, spirituality but not religious, or believing but not belonging, or spiritual revolution. These are the concepts introduced through the secularization process and afterwards. So lastly, the Grace Davis also introduced believing without belonging. So in that context, I will dive into the spiritual revolution, which Hillas and Wood had examined the British community with an empirical study, and find that the spiritual revolution theory, in which traditional forms of religion, particularly Christianity, are giving way to spirituality in modern Britain. So these theories have highlighted the issue associated with popularity of spirituality, wherein the manifest in the sense of personal, individual version of spirituality, rather than one based on we've organized religion. So this contemporary interest in notion spirituality might associate with two factors, personal well-being or interest in divine, to connect with divine. So after this explanation, I would like to talk about the definition of spirituality, Sufism, and well-being. So what is spirituality? So you can see in the literature there's many definition and different way of explanation spirituality exists. But one of them is the meaning of spirituality is a personal quest for understanding answers to ultimate question about life, about meaning, and about relationship with the sacred or transcendence, and which may or may not lead to or arise from the development of religious ritual and the formation of a community. Their definition exists from the religious point of view. So, for example, Parliament also explained the definition of spirituality as a form of motivation to seeking out relationship with something perceived as sacred, as guided by religion. Koenig also explained this from this perspective, and he also said that from especially well-being point of view, definition of spiritual being as distinguished from humanism, values, morals, and mental health by its connection to that which is sacred or transcendence. And he also explained transcendent as a god. Koenig actually one of the eminent scholar in the field of health, spirituality, and religion. So that's why I took this approach as a definition of spirituality in my study. When you back to William James' study on religion and spirituality, and actually he has been studied both from the psychology and scientific perspective through the observation of practices. So empirical studies have also been conducted as spirituality and religion with a focus on positive outcome of well-being, but and physical and psychological health, there's many studies conducted, but we will talk about this later in the study. But now I will talk about what is well-being. So the World Health Organization explains well-being as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stress of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to her or his community. So a human being in a good mental health can often experience being sad, unwell, angry, or unhappy, and this is natural way of living in a complete life. The matter is how we position ourselves to these emotional change, and well-being plays a role in capacity to be in control. Actually, the way is to be in control and learn how to be managed with this emotion and these reactions, and also modern times, bring lots of distress on life. So this well-being is the way of position you trying to act according to what's happened and how you feel. So psychological or mental account of well-being have been seen as matter of finding enjoyment in various things, while enjoyment is what we call attitude, a conscious state or a kind of response to what's happened. So in this study, we define well-being as broadly referring to an individual sense of self, their capacity to be in control and active engagement with the society. So when we talk about personal well-being, this is strongly related with how satisfied we are with our life, day-to-day emotional experience, and wider well-being. In modern life, a person is surrounded by many obstacles, which indeed the high level of stress inherent in the contemporary lifestyle have been shown to increase their risk of experience, burnout, depression, or anxiety. So people may regard their problems as less definable or less concrete than those faced previously. Being wealthy or physically fit is not enough to be satisfied with our life. This context might relate to the characteristic of the secular age in which we are living. So one of the consequences of this contemporary distress is that the seeking of solutions. So people tend to look for the alternatives, which is one of them is spirituality. So from this, I would like to refer to one NHS Wellbeing webpage. If you look at the NHS webpage, so we can see the 5 steps for well-being. It starts with connect with other people, which helps to build sense of belonging and connection and kind of positive experience with other people. Actually, when you look at these steps, you can clearly connect these steps with religious or spiritual practices, which mainly focus on connect with other people. Or when you look the second one, if you just scroll down.
One moment, I think that is slide.
Okay, I can. If you just click.
No, I've already clicked. It's just
okay, that's fine. No worries. Anyway, I will explain. So connect with others is the first thing. And second one is be physically active, actually. To be involved in spiritual or religious practices and activities, you have to be physically active, go and attend. And some of the practice actually also needs to kind of physically involved. So learn new skills and improve your sense of purpose, knowledge, and learn new way of express yourself. So give to others, which is the main things, charity, to help others, serve others, is the main of many traditional and spiritual concept and tradition. The last one, pay attention to the present moment, mindfulness. So I show this NHS web page just to remind you what is mental well-being, or mental health is not directly related with mentally ill. I mean, we don't have to be mentally ill or clinically diagnosed to feel we have mental health problems. Actually, I'm talking about mental well-being, which is protecting your stable reaction of the life events. So I would like to show this diagram, which shows the study conducted on religion, spirituality, and health. So we can see that it's getting increased recently. I mean, when you see after 2000, it's increased sharply. So after that, also many studies conducted on health, religion, and spirituality. So after giving this relation with spirituality and well-being, I would like to give an example that is everyone aware of. The most popular spiritual practice that has arisen by the ancient Eastern tradition is mindfulness, which is highly popular in contemporary clinical practice, clinical setting, which is actually defined as an act of paying attention to present moment. And also the skill of mindfulness is developed using various meditation techniques that actually originated from Buddhist spiritual practices. This broad and complex understanding of spirituality, as has arisen in contemporary post-secular age, forms the backdrop of my research. And all in all, the implication faced in relation to current trends of spirituality, its understanding and its impact upon the well-being of individuals can be seen among British Sufis as well. So as I will be talk about, and also as will participate in our research. So when we look at the definition of Sufism, I mean, now I'm start talking about second part of my research, which is Sufism is a way of Islamic practices, Islamic spiritual practices. Sufism is the English correlate of the Arabic term tasawwuf, which emerged around 9th century. And Sufism is a spiritual aspect of Islam based on Quran and the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad. And there are several other assumptions on the definition, but we will use, for my definition, is the Sufism is a spiritual dimension emerged from Islam. So the term Sufism is more focused on the inner practice, and also it's expressed by scholars as a practical Islam, and also a way of purification of the heart, sincere of worship. So Islam is not just a religion, it's a civilization that produces shared culture and heritage across the Asia, Africa, and also Europe as well. But now we can see it's emerged in the Europe and America in a different way. So Islamic spirituality has many different appearances according to culture and history. So in this study, Sufism will be understood as spiritual tradition arising from Islam, as I highlighted before, and can be understood as a path that allows the followers to discover the self and allows them to seek the perfect being, which is mentioned as insan-ı kamil in Sufi literature. The spiritual path laid out in Sufism leads a person towards a state of pure inwardness through the help of practice such as prayer, remembrance, zikr, meditation, for example, muraqabah, and completion, which is tafakkur. So in the life of Sufis, everything is done by in the name of God. So their study conducted on British Sufis as well give us and have explained the tradition as a unique approach to spirituality, and it's an individualized experience path that helps create a personal relationship with divine God, Allah, and individuals. So this personal connection with the divine leads Sufi to attempt to know that their inner self. When we look at the Western Sufism, in the West there is growing interest in Sufism, the major form of Islamic spirituality, which has become increasingly visible in Western society in the 21st centuries. So Sufi texts also from East has been translated to Europe and European languages, and also Sufi branches and orders exist in the West as well. As I mentioned, Hazan conducted a research with British Sufis and explored the contemporary presence of Islamic Sufism in Britain. So she stated that contemporary Sufism is feeling need for spiritual reconnection with God in an increasingly materialistic and secular society. So there, and also it also serves a unit and place to individuals across diverse religious and ethnic backgrounds. Additionally, another study conducted by Köse in England on British Sufis has stated that many rejected materialism, secularization, and religious tradition. So from these studies, people have no formal connection with religion. Yeah, when we explain for the secularization, and now I'm talking about post-secularization time. So during the secularization phases, when secularization area, people have no connection with religion or yet have desire for spirituality, the contemporary post-secular period brings some new form of spirituality and new form of religion as well. So the desire for spirituality within secular British society may thus be seen in search for other traditions, such as Sufism. And also Bruce states a concept that the westernization of easternization of the West, which is the Western tradition when bringing the Eastern tradition when bringing the West, it's become westernized. It's a way of modify the practice and some of the teaching with the existing culture and existing society, which in some ways I'm looking this concept in my study. So another study, Verber also studies Sufi organization in Britain and have find 6 distinctive features that are mainly that are for the British version of Sufism, which is like only some groups attracts British-born followers. The second, there's a general stress shared all group on zikr or meditation. The other only some groups. The extent of gender equality and mixing is quite remarkable. So she explained all the existing concepts in British version of Sufi practices. And after giving this detail and general information towards the secularization, well-being, and Sufism, I would like to give some finding from my research. So, I am actually interested in those approach which have modified traditional Sufi practice for a more secularized audience. I conducted a variety of qualitative studies which involves in-depth interview with centers and also with individuals. And I conduct a participant observation and focus group discussion. And also during the COVID, I had a chance to add another study, which is follow-up study with the people I did in-depth interview, asking their experience during COVID-19 and how it's affect their well-being. Okay. So first of all, today I will present finding from my follow-up COVID-19 interview study, but I would like to present a general finding from my broader research. Mainly, when I look for the British sample of Sufi groups and Islamic spirituality, find a way that people are trying to find the way of practice their faith and belief in a modern concept. So Sufi practices or Sufi centers allows them a way to they feel connect and belong. Most of the participants' response was about they feel connected and they feel at home, they feel belong. So it's also represent a social identity which allow to people feel connected and helps their mental well-being. First of all, actually, I started this study to looking for more secular audience and finding more well-being outcomes. But the first finding was people are not coming to find well-being outcome. In the first place, they are actually searching for spirituality, to connect with sacred or transcendent, or they looking for a way of practice their religion. For example, for Muslims coming from they born and raised in more contemporary society, they are looking for the way to modify their practices in contemporary society, which they born and raised and they used to. So another things related with that is social integration, which is a way of feeling connected, and this social integration also bring many results in terms of well-being. And social support is another important point, that people feeling connected when they share like-minded people and when they share their feeling, their emotion, and their purpose of life. Another outcome was finding a meaning, because we know that there is a huge literature about having a meaning is a way to connect with the life, a way to protect your well-being. Most of the participants were mentioned about this teaching, this practices allows them a purpose of their life and give a meaning what they face and what they experience in modern time. Another important finding was about actually bereavement, which most of the people came across with this Sufi practices when they're seeking for a way to deal with their bereavement or their grief or their breakdown, which is when they're feeling emotionally affected or broken, which I got this response from the centers as well. They were saying that people come because they feel they need heal, or they feel they need some support, and etc. And another thing is personal development, which is most of the spiritual tradition provide a kind of path to develop your inner self and also your personality, and which helps to deal with some kind of unexpected and like the stress of the life, and provide you extra support. Especially these come up when I did interview during COVID-19, because during lockdown, when I approached them and asked about their experience and what they think about how their practices affected by lockdown and COVID-19, they say that actually because Islamic spirituality and Sufi practices has two different sides to practice, which is communal way. You can do practice together, zikr, pray, and other examples. And also there's a individual practices as well, which is more you have to do by yourself. Tefekkür, connections, zikr, or other kind of things helps to improve your personality and also your connection with your inner self, and also with transcendence, with God. So actually these are general summary, a brief summary of my findings. These quotations are from my study, my COVID-19 study. For example, one of the participants was mentioning about the practices helped me to realize a time when I needed to let go something. Being there with others who have the same intention to direct their energy to Allah, to the one who is no form, no name, just essence. So this gives you the strength to be able to do that, or to be able to, and then you can return to your life with more detached, with more calm and peaceful approach, whether you are feeling grief or anger. For example, this is one of them. When people mention about their process of bereavement and after they're feeling deep grief. Another example is the zikr is so powerful and it's so relaxing, calming, and it's a beautiful thing. Especially during quarantine, that we are all anxious, we are all like stressful, like it was such a time that we all went through. Another things actually, people say that, when it's first come, we already develop our sense to cope with uncertainty. So I already developed my belief to, I already developed my connection and trust and belief to God. So when it came, and it was huge support for me. So I continue to be myself. So I already developed this sense. So it was easy to cope with during this lockdown and uncertain times. Other quotation. It is a feeling of living with a sense of purpose and a sense of gratitude for this whole experience. This daily practice is enable me to think about actually how can I be more of service to the whole picture. Yeah, I took this quotation to show my general findings, which I haven't got any published paper. It's just like the first finding or like presenting the background of my research and what I did so far. For the future studies or future implication of this study, actually, I found many things can be done. For example, one of them is in palliative care, which I'm really interested in, especially people during grief and bereavement. It's good. There's lots of study conducted on this field in terms of general spirituality and support by caregiver and also patients. But from my point, it might be used as a like Islamic spiritual support for the people coming from Muslim background or people coming from culturally related backgrounds. Another things might be about because I found fascinating about this social identity or integration as well. Most of the people are like feeling lost or feeling kind of complicated about to find their way or practice their religion in contemporary and modern times with lots of like undefined problems, as we use in the definition of well-being, that people were feeling like they have some kind of problem, but they don't know what is it. So it's a way to maybe help people to figure out. I don't know. So that's all from me, and thank you for being there and listening to me so far. I know it's so hot weather. It's like.
Say that again. We have water at the back, don't worry, guys. But before we do, can we just give Merve a massive round of applause? Thank you for that. I mean, mental health and mental well-being has really become central to a lot of our conversations, especially since COVID-19, and spirituality, as we've clearly seen, has quite a big role in there. As a chronically online person, and have no shame in saying that, I've seen over COVID-19 seen this manifest in different forms. I mean, I've seen an interest in witchcraft increase. I think that's some form of spirituality, if you can. I've seen people get involved in like manifesting stuff, which is an interesting thought, as well as become more spiritual. So thank you for that. I'm going to open the floor for questions, but since I'm the host, I get some privileges. I get to ask first. I'm more interested in, well, I'm very interested in what you say, but I'm quite interested in the role of this loss of religion, if you will, and increase in spirituality, and its connection to identity and more like the social impacts that has. So if you could speak a bit about that, or how that impacts someone, while I give you my microphone.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Actually, from that point, identity is so important, especially for the pluralistic and multicultural society, which if you are coming from a minority background, you always feel sometimes neglected, or feel searching for a community, or like sharing your feeling. In that point, actually, this centers provide an extra space for people go and be with people like-minded. For example, most of my participants coming from the second or third generation of Bangladeshi or Pakistani origin, so they were expressing that, and some of them hasn't got like connection with their parents' culture or belief, but because they born and raised here, they have different kind of mindset, or they face different kind of realities, so they sometimes feel disconnected with their family belief or religion. So it's a way that they found reconnection with their faith, with like-minded people sharing their thoughts and feeling. On the other hand, actually, it's not for the Muslim people. There is non-Muslims or like nominal Muslims, or they accept Islam, and they also find a safe space or place to share like-minded people with their feeling and their thought about their belief, life, or everything, because this, especially contemporary Sufi groups, open for everyone. Actually, it's the base of the Sufi understanding. You can come whoever you are. So that's the way people attract to this spiritual way of practicing. And on the other hand, I don't know if it's related with your question or not, it just came. So, for example, I was expecting more secular people, non-religious people interested in spirituality, but I came across that people actually coming from religious background, and it's not just Muslim background. They are people from Christianity or Judaism, or they coming from other spiritual tradition, or they actually at the same time practicing the multiple way of spirituality or religion. So actually they were searching something, and most of the explanation was for they were searching meaning, identity, or healing, or a way to just chill out. Yeah.
I have more questions, so if you, but I'm gonna open the floor up because it's unfair. Do you guys have any questions? No. Any at all? Go for. Oh, hello. Go for it.
In the examples you mentioned, a lot of people talked about zikr, for example, but did you come across any examples of Sufi music or
Yeah, definitely.
mentioning of the ney at all?
I couldn't hear.
Or the ney, a ney instrument?
Okay, sure. Especially Turkish version of practice. Actually, music is a huge part in Sufism as well. So I came across many people practicing like a ney or doing sema, or actually they listening Sufi music background when they are doing meditation or doing like silent zikr, and also ney or saz. Actually, these are the other instruments they play, they practices. Music is a way of touching your soul. So yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other further questions? Oh, we have another.
Well, basically, I know everything about this dissertation since I was with her technically in every step, kind of. But my question is, a lot of people now are saying that yoga, Sufism, and they all the time revolve around yoga and Sufism. Have you touched base on yoga, and would we say anyone who practices yoga is, a spiritual person or a Sufi person?
What do you mean by that?
Like
I mean,
if
as a
someone
Sufi
is
practice, or-
on a daily basis persistent on their own yoga, does that make them
Sure, actually.
Sufi, spiritual? What do you think?
I'm not interested in definitions. I'm asking people how they define themselves, or how they define spirituality or religion or their identity. I never use my own explanation, that's why I didn't ask them if they define themselves as a Sufi or as a Muslim. Actually, I ask about religious background. It's a part of demographic for my study. But of course, there's people practicing yoga, because yoga, is not just mainly practicing for spiritual or religious reasons. People practicing as a way of like being more flexible, or as a sport, or mindfulness mainly doing as a way of calm or something. Yeah, there is people practicing. I'm personally practice yoga. So.
I think yoga has lost a lot of its like religious undertones as it's been moved towards the West, and I think it loses some of its spirituality that way. But you actually touched on another question that I had about the international aspect of it. I mean, a lot of the people you mentioned, like Fatima, she must come from a international background in the UK, I'm guessing, since you're focused on Britain. So is there, I know you're focused on Britain, but is there like a more international kind of like
Definitely.
shift? Or
Yeah, as I mentioned in my presentation as well, Sufism exists across culture and religion, and now it exists in America, in Europe as well, as an existence of different different Sufi orders. Because now I'm not giving an information about the theological background of this Sufi path or orders, but of course there's an in-depth knowledge about the different kind of Sufi orders and Sufi path as well. I personally, for my research, I selected people actually define themselves as a Muslim and doing Islamic spirituality related with Sufism, and also they have like quite like they have an audience coming from different backgrounds, so they're Western or Actually, it's another issue that finding groups are quite marginal. I mean, they are not like an example of, not everyone white British or not everyone Muslim. There is some Sufi groups that exist. I mean, mainly people from certain culture or background came and attend, but actually these groups are quite, as I mentioned, they are open for everyone. So you can see someone Muslim from Taiwan, or you can see someone from Muslim, non-Muslim or Unitarian, or someone Muslim from Turkey, or like black British, white British. So you can see. It's also served for minorities as well,
exactly.
because London is quite you can see international people come for study, for work, for just following their dreams. So sometimes they don't have family, friends, or connection, even though at least some people. Actually, I'm looking for the British people, but I'm mentioning about the demographic of these centers are quite everyone came and attend.
The reason I ask is because I'm curious about the impact of the digital world, like in the internet. How does that impact it?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I forgot to mention about the detail. I collect my data during Corona online because the pandemic affected me very strangely. So in the middle of my data collection, pandemic came, so I have to change my methods. And also it's bring me a new kind of brand new study, which is a good thing. So I had to change online. When I conduct online, it's not a big deal because the thing is, these centers also have already online connection. I mean, online participants who are from overseas or who are their mom, they have kids, they're not able to attend. They also have Zoom sessions. So when COVID came, they just switched to Zoom, and everything was same. I myself attend this kind of online Zoom session, and I did collect half of my data online as well, and also access. And for example, this is another finding from my COVID-19 interview. Actually, people were mentioning there's many sources I can use. I can, for example, in the Sufi tradition, the position of sheikh is quite important, and most of the sheikhs are not living in the UK. I mean, from this group, so they have additional zikr or meeting with their guide. So it's a good thing. And also everyone can access through the social media or online. And also from the well-being point of view, sorry, I talk a lot.
So it's fine. One final point and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
Oh, we have another question. Oh, I didn't see you at the back. I'm sorry.
No. I just raised my hand now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you mentioned disenchantment. So I was wondering if you'd read the book, The Myth of Disenchantment?
Sorry?
Have you read the book called The Myth of Disenchantment? Because you mentioned disenchantment at the beginning of your presentation in relation to secularization.
Yeah, I'm talking about Durkheim point of view, but if you have any recommendation, I'm happy to receive.
Okay, all right. And my second question was, you're talking about spirituality, Islamic spirituality in the suburbs. Do you see it as separate from normative Islamic practice, or do you think it's just part of that? What's your understanding?
You're
of
asking
it?
my own position as individual.
No. What you found from your research, or just generally? I'm just interested in it.
Okay. From the research, actually, as I explained maybe in my presentation, we were expecting more people to interview from secular background, but most of people coming religious background. And they also clearly explained that they find their practice as a practice of religion and Islam. I mean, they are not looking for or seeing Sufism, practicing Sufism separated from practicing Islam. Actually, there is study and explanation on the literature that people define Sufi practices as a way of practicing religion or practical way of religion. That's why I use Islamic spirituality and Sufism, which because Sufi practices mainly, of course there's an in-depth knowledge and way to practice Sufism in a piety way, but I'm talking about contemporary version of Sufi practices, which is sometimes we can see completely not related with any religion or Islam, but from my study and my focus, they are explaining and they are seeing their practices as a way of practicing Islam.
Thank you very much. So I think we're going to call it a day. Thank you, Merve Çetinkaya, for that fascinating conversation. Thank you for being here and thank you for your questions. If you have any more questions, you can always direct it to Merve.
Yeah, I have email address there, so you
Yes,
can just
you can email her or just talk to her here as well. There's food at the back, so please help yourselves. And can we just give one last round of applause to Merve Çetinkaya, please, for all her. Çok güzeldi. Yani durmadan konuştunuz maşallah.
hocaya mikrofonu verince